Think about the last time you felt a genuine thrill from the smell of old paper, the flicker of a candle, or the quiet, almost menacing silence of a university library at midnight. There is a strange, intoxicating pull to the dark academia genre, isn't there? It is a world where the pursuit of knowledge is not just a career path, but a matter of life and death. And this year, in 2026, the genre has taken a fascinating turn. We are looking at a massive surge in popularity, but the metrics behind what makes these books trend have evolved in ways no one really predicted.
It is absolutely fascinating. If you look at the top 20 dark academia titles dominating the charts this year, we are not just seeing a repeat of the classic Gothic tropes. The data reveals a massive shift in reader obsession metrics. We are tracking how readers interact with these books online, the rate at which they annotate them, and how they discuss them. The average rating for these top 20 books is sitting at an unprecedented 4.4 out of 5 stars. But what is truly wild is the divergence between what critics love and what readers are actually obsessed with.
That divergence is always where the real story lies. When we talk about reader obsession, what are we actually measuring? Is it just social media hype, or is it something deeper, like rereadability and emotional investment?
It is a mix of both, but with a new twist for 2026. The obsession metric is calculated by tracking a few key behaviors: how quickly a book is finished once started, the density of shared digital highlights, and the volume of fan-created content like aesthetic mood boards or character playlists. This year, the books ranking highest on the obsession scale are not necessarily the ones with the highest literary prestige. Instead, they are the ones that create a complete sensory environment. Readers want to live inside the text. They want the rain-slicked cobblestones, the secret societies, and the morally gray mentors to feel entirely tangible.
So it is less about a perfect plot, and more about atmosphere and character dynamics. Let us talk about the tropes that are driving this obsession. For a long time, dark academia was dominated by the classic secret history formula: a small, elite group of students, and charismatic professor, and a cover-up. Is that still the gold standard in 2026, or are we seeing new themes emerge?
The classic formula is still the foundation, but the top 20 titles show a significant evolution. The number one trope this year is actually academic rivalry turned high-stakes partnership. It is no longer just about a group of friends turning on each other. It is about two brilliant, deeply flawed individuals forced to work together to solve a mystery or survive a corrupt institution. We are also seeing a massive rise in what people are calling eco-gothic dark academia.
Ico-Gothic? That sounds like a blend of environmental dread and ancient folklore. How does that manifest in an academic setting?
Exactly. Think of crumbling, ivy-covered universities where the nature surrounding the campus is actively reclaiming the stone, or where the research itself involves dangerous, forgotten botanical secrets. It taps into a very modern anxiety about the natural world, but wraps it in that classic, dusty library aesthetic. It is a brilliant way to make the genre feel urgent and contemporary, while keeping the historical, Gothic undertones that readers crave.
That makes a lot of sense. It bridges the gap between historical nostalgia and future anxiety. But let us address the elephant in the room, or rather, the metric that has seen the most dramatic shift in discussion online: spice. The level of romance and physical intimacy in these books. Historically, dark academia was quite chaste, focusing almost entirely on intellectual tension and repressed emotions. Where does the 2026 list stand on the spice spectrum?
The spectrum is wider than ever, and it is dividing the fandom in a really interesting way. In the top 20, we see two distinct peaks. On one end, you have books with very low spice but incredibly high psychological tension. These are the slow burns where a simple brush of hands in a drafty archive carries the weight of a lifetime. On the other end, we have a massive surge in high-spice dark academia. We are talking about explicit, intense romantic subplots woven directly into the dangerous rituals and academic rivalries.
And how does that affect the overall ratings? Do the high spice books perform better, or do they alienate the traditionalists?
Surprisingly, the high spice books tend to have slightly lower critical ratings, but astronomically higher reader obsession metrics. They are the ones people talk about constantly, the ones that trend for weeks. The low-spice, high-intellectual dread books get the glowing 5-star reviews from literary critics, but they do not generate the same level of feverish, community-driven obsession. It seems readers are using the high-spice titles as a form of high-stakes escapism. The romance acts as a counterweight to the bleakness of the academic setting.
It is like a pressure valve for the narrative tension. If the characters are constantly facing expulsion, madness, or death, a passionate romance offers a temporary refuge, even if that romance is itself toxic or doomed. It makes you wonder about the psychological appeal of these stories. Why are we so drawn to characters who ruin their lives for the sake of knowledge? What does that say about our relationship with achievement and intellect today?
It is a form of tragic romanticism. We live in a world where education is often treated as a transaction, a stepping stone to a career. Dark academia offers an alternative where education is dangerous, beautiful, and absolute. The characters in these books do not care about student loans or job markets. They care about truth, beauty, and power, even if it destroys them. There is a liberating quality to that level of obsession. It allows readers to escape the mundane pressures of modern achievement and indulge in a fantasy where knowledge has cosmic consequences.
It is the ultimate rebellion against utility. Doing something not because it is useful, but because it is consuming. Let us look at some specific examples from the top 20 without giving away too many spoilers. There is one book that has been hovering at the top of the obsession metric for months, featuring a translation department that uncovers a linguistic anomaly. Why did that one strike such a chord?
That book is a masterclass in combining high intellectual concept with intense character dynamics. The premise centers on the idea that certain dead languages, when spoken under specific conditions, can alter reality. The rating is exceptionally high, a 4.6, because the author managed to make linguistics feel as action-packed as a thriller. The trope here is the forbidden knowledge, but the reader obsession peaked because of the tragic friendship dynamics. It asks the question, if you had the power to rewrite history, would you sacrifice the only person who truly understands your mind?
That is the ultimate dark academia dilemma, the choice between the pursuit of absolute truth and human connection. It always comes back to isolation, doesn't it? The ivory tower is a beautiful place, but it is ultimately a prison.
A gilded cage, absolutely. And the books that capture that feeling of claustrophobia are the ones that resonate the most. Even the cover designs of the top 20 reflect this. We are seeing a lot of dark, textured covers with foil accents, representing the contrast between the dark, hidden secrets and the bright, shining intellect of the characters. The physical book itself becomes an artifact, a piece of the aesthetic.
It becomes a prop in the reader's own life. They want the book on their nightstand next to a cup of black tea and a brass lamp. It is a complete lifestyle integration. But as we look at these trends, do you think the genre is reaching a saturation point? With 20 major titles dominating the conversation this year alone, is there a risk of the tropes becoming caricatures of themselves?
There is always that risk when a genre becomes this popular. We are already seeing some fatigue with the classic secret society trope if it does not offer anything new. If a book just checks the boxes, tweed jackets, rainy days, Latin phrases, without any real emotional depth or structural innovation, readers see right through it. The ratings for those paint-by-numbers books are dropping significantly. The audience is highly literate and demanding. They want the aesthetic, but they also want intellectual rigor.
So the bar is rising. Writers cannot just rely on the atmosphere anymore. They have to deliver complex plots and genuine psychological depth. Which brings us back to the future of the genre. As we move past 2026, what do you think will be the next evolution? If eco-gothic and high spice are the current peaks, where do we go from here?
I suspect we will see more integration of speculative elements, not full fantasy, but a light bending of reality, magical realism where the magic is quiet, academic, and deeply unsettling. We might also see a shift toward diverse cultural perspectives on academia. Most dark academia is rooted in Western Eurocentric university traditions. Some of the most exciting titles entering the top 20 now are exploring these tropes through the lens of non-Western educational histories and folklore, which opens up entirely new avenues for tension and critique.
That sounds incredibly promising. Breaking out of the traditional Oxford and New England mold to see how other cultures romanticize and critique the pursuit of knowledge. It keeps the genre fresh while honoring its core appeal. As we wrap up today, it is clear that dark academia is far from a passing trend. It is a mirror reflecting our deepest anxieties about ambition, isolation, and the cost of curiosity.
It really is. It makes us ask ourselves, how much of our own humanity are we willing to trade for success, for recognition, or for simply knowing the truth? Perhaps the real obsession isn't with the dark libraries or the secret societies, but with the terrifying, beautiful possibility of losing ourselves entirely to something we love.
A haunting thought to leave our listeners with. Next time you find yourself studying late into the night or lost in the pages of a dusty volume, ask yourself just how far you would go if the stacks started whispering back. Thank you for diving into the shadows with us today. Until next time, keep questioning and mind the secrets you uncover.